This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I represent Bahamian people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan, bro. Right between West and Augusta, where them two roads meet, they call it Wilkinson Street. Manners and respect was like a sign blank check. It seems the ones that coming after quick to disrespect. You see, this life in the ghetto never easy. So many hungry days break till it grieve me. But I doing the best I can, trying to turn my dollar to 100 grand. I represent the ghetto people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan, bro.
Good evening, Bahamas, and welcome to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I am your host, Valentino Brown, host of the talk show Inside the Inner City. Inside the Inner City comes on Guardian Radio 96.9 every Friday from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Our telephone numbers tonight on Guardian Radio are 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, and you can text us, powered by BTC, at 422-GR96. Our producing studios today is none other than Ali Roll, who produce the shows in the evenings, in the morning sometimes. Him and Kermit switches shift. So we always like to give a shout out to the producers who make it happen for us as talk show hosts on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I want to thank everyone who takes the time out to listen to Guardian Radio, and especially Inside in the City that comes on every Friday. This show tells our story, tells our history, share our hopes and dreams, and also to influence and encourage those out there in the country to make a difference, to contribute to developing your community, whether it's cleanup, education, talking to young persons in the community, doing community programs, anything that is something positive that is making an impact on the country and its citizens. Today, we're going to talk about a number of topics. So I gave out the numbers a little earlier. So if you would like to contribute on the various topics we're going to talk about today, I had a guest coming in, Paul Melis, but he is flying in Inagua. In fact, he's in the air now. And what we were going to discuss today, we were going to discuss the fact that he was advocating for farmers, for more protection from thieves. And we wanted to discuss that. We still could go through it, even though he's not here. We could have a comment on that. And we also want to comment on foreign nationals who marry Bahamian men or women. Are they entitled to have a fishing license in the country? And according to this government, if my information is correct, I'm listening to the radio and reading the newspaper, they say they will not be allowing it. So foreigners who are married to Bahamians will no longer be granted license of fishing in the country. We'd also like to have that discussion. And then we can also discuss what they're talking about now, Wayne Monroe, and et cetera, where a Bahamian man or woman born 1973 can pass citizenship on to their children as long as they are Bahamian in the country, as long as they was also born in the country. And I guess they're also saying that if you can prove that the child's DNA is of the father or mother, and the mother is a natural-born Bahamian, then citizenship can, I guess, also be passed on to he or she. And from my knowledge, I don't see nothing wrong with it. I think it's a long time coming because, many persons aren't married and, they have children outside of marriage. Many persons are not engaged. Some are just boyfriend, girlfriend. They had a fling and they end up having children and, etc. So it's the right thing to do. I think as long as you're Bahamian 1973 and you're natural born Bahamian, you're registered in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, I think that if he or she were to have children outside of wedlock, etc., or if you're just boyfriend, girlfriend, you had a child, and you're a Bahamian, yes, that child should carry your identity as a Bahamian. And I think that's the right thing to do. But before I begin the topic, I'd just like to say this. Many persons who listen to Inside the City over the last 7 years may sometimes have mention the fact of my previous life. And many will be wondering why I keep on bringing it up, when I'm a changed person and I'm doing great things in the country. Well, the reason why is every time I read the newspaper, I see the same thing happening over and over and over again that happened 30, 25, just recently. So these kind of bother me, and it seems like I be wasting my time coming on the airwaves or doing whatever I got to do in my community, which I'm not. But I'm just saying sometimes I get frustrated because I'm telling my life experience to reflect on those young boys or young girls out there who are making bad choices in life. And I'm one who has made a change in my life. And I want to be able to save many lives in the country, not just by talking, but talking to the leaders of the country, talking to many different organizations, talking to the churches, Rotary Club of East Nassau, talking to the IDB Bank, talking to the government of the Bahamas, talking to many great organizations and charity organizations around the world and here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And my only goal is to save lives because if you look at the newspaper, you are seeing where we're losing so many lives across the board. And this would frustrate me. I never like to reflect back on my life, But I just want people to see the experience that I went through, how deep I was into the criminal life, how serious it was, how my mindset was, and how the mindset of the young man today, how they're acting. And the thing is, it's destroying us as a nation. It's destroying us. Every time you look on the news, you're seeing a mother or a father crying for that child, whether the child is good or bad. Could you imagine if this keeps up? Like I said before, I really believe that if this continue at this rate right now, that eventually the majority of inner city communities and persons around Nassau live in inner city communities, far South Beach, Fox Hill, Camp Road, and come back around to Grandstand, to Baintown, to whatever, everyone's going to be affected with a loved one being killed in the country, either by a street thug, we so call them, or the street thug getting killed by police, etc. Or the street thugs killing innocent kids, killing innocent people in the country, and etc. So we have a lot of issues here, and that's the reason I keep on expressing myself about my past, because I want people to understand that this is my passion. My passion is to use the airwaves, what Guardian Radio gave to me, to have a platform to talk about our history. Use this to reach persons in high positions and organizations to reach out and get some information and what can we do to change this trend of the mindset of our young persons in this country. Every day there's a mother, a father, crying for their children, whether, like I said, whether they're good or bad, but it's affecting all of us, and that's my reason I keep on explaining my life, and that's the reason I do everything that I am doing so that I can be a change in the country, you know. That's my passion. That's the only, if anything I desire. Not riches, not fame, none of that I desire. I would like to see one day where the Bahamas is a place where you could see kids again riding bicycles, spinning tops, you know, climbing the canap tree, you know, going on the beach, having events in the community, neighbors sitting out together once again because now they have a different mindset. They're able to take care of themselves and their family, provide the best they can because now we have been able to decrease poverty in the community and country at large, and we have taken the pressure off the Bahamian people. I don't hate the Prime Minister or the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I don't hate the opposition. I hate nobody in the country. Even if me personally is not speaking to someone in my community, anyone could tell you that I am still a sociable person. I'm the nicest person in the world. I don't hold grudges. I try to find ways I can work around that individual, you know, without causing confusion in the community and still have a positive impact in the community and still help that person out. Because we have differences in our opinion, and we all different individuals. And sometimes you could be talking the truth, but people today don't like the truth and they hate you for it and what you stand up for and what you're doing, you know. They always say there's a motive, but here's my motive. I once again want to see the Bahamas be a place where Bahamians again become a village again. Okay? Okay. And I just want to say this. I read the newspaper, and I want to say to the Guardian, y'all are doing a wonderful job as far as coming up with great, interesting stories recently. And last few weeks, the Guardian has been doing a wonderful job of talking about the crime problem in the country. I mean, all the latest news. Doing great. Keep it up, Guardian Radio. And I want to say this to friends out there, just for the, you know, final justice for Brianna. Her friends stopped over cellular phone. Over a cellular phone. Now they're spending 28 years for a cellular phone. And this is why I come on the radio. And this is why I talk about my previous past. Because if this make any sense at all, for these young ladies who call this lady who they killed, right, friends, now over cellular phone. Listen to this now. You're spending 28 years in prison for a cellular phone. 28 years. And the person was your friend. There has to be some psychology wrong with our youths today. Because, listen, nothing adds up with that. And this is the consequences for many of our boys and girls out there who are making this decision. That's why we have to improve the community development programs in the inner city community and make sure that we have the best programs available for our kids in our community. Because many of them today are thinking just like these young ladies who killed their friend. And if you look at the two boys who stopped at the school recently, when one subscribed of his injuries, and the next one now is going through a psychological process where he still having nightmares of his friend being killed and him being stopped. Now that the two who charged with him, they are now they were in the boys' industrial school. Now they've been released. I think they've been released now. Okay? And many people were saying, well, how could they get released? Remember, many people are asking why did they get released so early. We must remember that we have a court system, that the kids are juveniles. They're not adults, they're juveniles. So they're entitled to bail under the law. You know, And what is going to happen to them? They're going to wait till they're 17, 18. And then if they lose their case, they will be getting the same type of sentence. And they kill their fellow student. All of our kids now are being so rough and tough, quick and anger and make the wrong decisions. And this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to get 28 years in jail for killing your friend over selling the phone. The other guys the younger kids who stabbed the next student at the school, okay? What they stabbed him for, probably over argument, trying to attack his friend. So the young guy defended his friend because they were there to harm his friend. And he instead died for his friend. So he's a heroic young man. He gave his life for his friend. Okay? But if you look at it, that's like 4 lives have been crushed. And if they don't have the proper psychiatric treatment, they're going to be a problem for us in the near future. Because that same young man who watched his friend got killed and stabbed himself, he is going to be very aggressive as a young man. So he's going to defend himself in any altercation he get himself into from here on in. He's never going to be the same no more. And those 2 young men who are now in Boys Industrial School, who are now free, and if they are ever convicted, because they probably got released, but what you think they're saying to their friends? They're using this incident as a way to boost their morality and say, hey, man, yeah, you killed one. They might not be saying it on Facebook or etc., but when they sit down with their friends and their mind now has changed, and this is something that they would like to continue, but they're before the courts. And if they're sentenced in due time, okay, and they're not rehabilitated at the prison, and when they're released 15, 20 years from now, they'd make the same mistake again and come and harm somebody else. So I just wanted to say that's the reason I talk about my past. My past is something that I don't like to discuss. I want to forget about it. I already forget about it, but every time something like this happens, I bring it up because I know we can do better in this country if we invest in the right program, if we direct our attention to where it's needed in the country. I know very well what's going to happen. I've seen young guys who start off small and they become armed robbers, murderers in the community over and over. And now they're really walking around the community. They can't find work. They're afraid to leave the community. The community is their only safety in one particular spot, 1 or 2 corners. They're afraid to go there and look for work. So they stay in the community and they do anything to survive, and they prey on their neighbors. And then after a while, the neighbors them get tired of them, and eventually they themselves get killed on the streets because they become a problem to their own community. They're then a problem to the country. But because they know they can't go on a 9 to 5, they do things illegally in the community, whether it's breaking in cars, breaking in houses. And mind you now, these are persons who are supposed to be persons who have committed serious crimes in the country. It gets so rough for them that they have to resort to breaking in cars and breaking in houses and selling petty drugs on the streets. Nickel bags, $5 bags. So you can imagine you committing a serious offense, you get anklet bracelet on your foot, you can't find no work, you're scared to leave out of your community because some other young guys out there who just like you're a shooter and they're a shooter, and you went to prison, so you know what's going on. So even though you're a shooter, you're still fearing for your life. So in order to preserve your life, you stay in the community. And this goes on in Camp Road, this goes on in Fox Hill, this goes on in South Beach, this goes on in Grandstand where I reside, this goes on in Dainton, and this is the revolving doors. And these same guys are the ones who take hits. And the thing is, right, just like how Brianna's friends killed her over a cellular phone, it's the same way how a young man would kill you on the streets of Nassau, Providence for just this little argument. Simple as two of us liking a girl. You go to prison. Why is you in prison? Spending your little 1-2 years, your girlfriend is on the streets. She starts to talk to somebody, she starts to see somebody. You're released on bail. You come out, you're not rehabilitated. You come out looking for your girlfriend. You did some stuff for her, but she's involved with somebody else, so her mind is mixed up. She don't know what to do. So she decides to stay with the guy she just meet. But you come out of prison, you can't take that. You reach out to her, and when you get frustrated, when men get frustrated, today's men, when they get frustrated talking to a female, they become very aggressive, and they lose their minds. And that's why we had a lot of young ladies being assaulted, some even being killed. And then the young ladies themselves are very verbal, and they say things to the young man, hurtful things. You were saying hurtful things to a guy who just come out of prison, or a guy who you picked to be a bad choice to pick your boyfriend, your future boyfriend, because the guy, like I said, is trapped in the community. You only like him because he has a name, and you decided to be his girlfriend. But after a while, you get bored of this guy because this guy has nothing to offer besides his name, and name only lasts so long on the streets. Then it comes down to having funds, it comes to having your own roof over your head, it comes to having your car. And these things, if you don't have your girl who loves you, will go look for other man who has it. And then this becomes a problem to you, and you can't deal with it, you fight off. And if the guy tried to interfere, I just saw this recently out by Fish Fry, two guys arguing, I think it was his girlfriend, and one yuck out a gun, and he shoot the next guy who was trying to defend his girl who he took out. Was attacked probably by our boyfriend. And he couldn't see her with the next male. And he approached and tried to assault her. And she might have said, me and you finish, and that's it, and this is my boyfriend. And when she got assaulted, he got mad and he started to beat her. And then the guy who came with her tried to interfere, and then the gun was pulled out and the guy got shot. And then right after that, the guys who shoot the guy got apprehended by the police. So now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be charged before the court for attempted murder, right? You might get charged for assault. You might be looking at a 25-year sentence. Now you're in Fox Hill prison. If you've never been there before, now you're never going to be the same again. And this is a decision what so many of our children are making in the country. And that's why we have a revolving door. So I just wanted to say I see through the lines. We have to build a village again. We have to have the church, we have to have the community, we have to have the politicians together, we have to have the police together. And that's what I'm trying to create in my small Grandstand community, which we are creating a great development plan and a future structure to be able to sustain growth in our community, to reduce poverty, to bring education, and also to bring empowerment with small business where I reside in the community, because I know this is the right way to go. Yeah, so all you guys out there who are petty-minded, taking out your friends for a cellular phone or because someone take your girlfriend or someone says something to you, you have to make better choices. Because if you don't make better choices, let me show you who's going to make better choices for you. The jury and the judge is going to make better choices for you. And that choice is going to be if you're innocent or you're guilty. And if you get guilty, you'd be looking like these same young girls now who could have wished they could have made a better decision instead of them killing their friend, Brianna. They would have tried and talk one another out of having a conflict with Brianna and to say, hey, no, man, that's our friend. You know, we don't need to do that to her. Even whatever she did good for us. You know, we can't do that. That's our friend. How could we want to hurt our friend? No. Did one of them do that? It seems not. So that means all them who were involved and they killed their friend, they probably voted together and they plotted their friend over selling the phone. So make better choices. Okay? Because, like I say, there's no family in prison. The only woman who was in prison are the woman who are in the female's prison. What's in prison is man who 18, 19, 20, man who 60, and 70 in prison. And that's a different personality there. Some men have been in prison for so long that they become sissies. And then you who coming in prison at the age like these young ladies will become victims. So there's no family up there. There's no auntie, there's no uncle. There's no future up there. Okay? So make better choices. And just take a look at our country. Look how we in Grandstand community who are doing violent crimes. In the Baytown community who are doing violent crimes against their own brothers and sisters in the community. Take a look. You're the ones who are causing all this chaos in the country today. And behalf of those who have the power as the government, the church, and etc., they have to provide the resources in order to stop these kids in today's society from making these decisions. So we have to build a village up in these communities. Okay. Now, to finish that topic, I want you to be a part of the conversation today. Our telephone lines today are 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. And I said earlier we were going to talk about farmers asking for more protection from theft of crops and livestock. Paul Melis was on a few weeks ago on social media, and he was stating that farmers are being attacked. And then I watched some other recordings of farmers across the country who saying that they spend so much money growing their crops and their livestock. Come to find out that it takes months, dedication, weeding, time, effort, and poisons prey on them. And when they go home at night, persons who will put no effort into their farm decides to steal from them, whether it's removing their livestock, thieving their fruits and vegetables, and leaving nothing for the farmers. And now the farmers themselves now are asking the authorities to help them. And I guess the farmers are saying, you know, they need help, they need protection because they're losing a livelihood. And I guess they're going to try and find a way to come up with a solution to see how they can counteract what's going on with the farming industry in the country. So I guess some of them might want to get licensed firearm. Some of them might want police protection. I don't know how that's going to work with this high volume of crime going on in our country, especially murder. So I would suggest that they get some dogs, get some grant from government, put up the proper fencing, cameras, etc., apply for a licensed shotgun, put on your fence private property, hire 1 or 2 security guards to patrol your farm at night and make sure they're armed because you can't let no local security unarmed to go in places like a Micro Road late at night when there's so many illegal firearms on the street. That is a no-no. So the government's going to have to try to find a way on how they can security guards, so that they can protect themselves and protect the premises that they're protecting. Because, like I said, I don't think you're going to put security guards around in Nassau today without them having a firearm. I think that's suicide. In fact, I think the Bahamas needs now to reconsider arming security guards once they pass the proper training. Security guards could also assist the police. It would take a lot of pressure off the police knowing that you have an armed security guard. Because if you look at United States and Canada, you'd see where you would go in the mall and you would see security guards standing up alongside police officers, and the security guard is armed, and sometimes the security guard is protecting the premises. So I think it's very important that we take a look at that. I think what the farmers need to do is come up with a strategic plan, because they're talking and they're asking government to do the impossible, because I don't see how government can help unless they're going to invest in helping the farmers put up a secure structure and come up with creative ideas. Like I just mentioned, farmers, if you're going home, hire a security company. Security company can have armed guards, and if need to say, government can assist with payment until you can be able to reimburse the government. Yes. And like I said, put up cameras around your establishment. And technology is very, very, very good. So you can use your phone and have cameras, and you could be home. You get dogs, you get your security officers, and you have access to the police. And then you can look at your phone and have sensors on your farm, and you can call the police from your phone. So I guess that is a good suggestion for the farmers. Again, and now, like I say, you can comment on the show. You can also comment on this. What is your take on the landmark court ruling on citizenship in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas? Do you think that after 1973, like I always stated, like I tell you, I'm one smart young man, I told you all after 1973, how we don't have an immigration problem in the country. If we apply our laws from 1973, our immigration policy would be one of the best in the country. And the reason why I say that is because we can go from 1973 and see who all is registered Bahamian from 1973, because we were British before 1973. And when we became independent, we took on the role as the Bahamas. We were Nassau at first. So 1973, we should have all Bahamians who were all British citizens who became Bahamians in 1973 on record at the Princess Margaret Hospital. We can use this as the way to track Bahamians, and then we could use this as a way to see who really has citizenship in this country if we go back to 1973, because all of those names who became Bahamians are still in the books. So what is your say on it? Do you believe that if you were Bahamian and you're born after 1973 or before 1973, and you have a child and you're being denied the right to pass on your citizenship to he or she, do you think this is a good thing now that the government is considering granting the fact that you're a Bahamian and you can pass your citizenship on to your child as long as they're born in the Bahamas? But I also think they're making a stipulation that the child can also be outside the country, but his father or mother are Bahamians. So what is your take on it? Telephone line tonight are 323-6232, 325-4316, and 325-4259, and you can text us at 42GR96. So So I think it's a good thing. All right. You got no calls? Great. And so let's see what's in the newspaper. But I think, honestly, the one we're talking about when we're talking about foreign nationals who are married to Bahamian cannot have fishing license to fish in the Bahamas. Do you think that's right? Do you think that if you married a person outside of the Bahamas from Florida, Dominican Republic, and you're a Bahamian man or you're a Bahamian female who has Bahamian heritage and you're a Bahamian yourself, and your husband is a commercial fisherman, and he applies to the Bahamas government for a license to fish in the country based on the fact that he is married to a Bahamian, do you think it's right that the government of the Bahamas decides to cancel it and saying that they cannot have fishing license to fish in the Bahamas? Do you think it's right or do you think it's wrong? You can call in at 323-6232, 325-4316, or 325-4259. That's a hard one. That's a hard pill to swallow. It depends. I'm going to give my opinion. It depends on the person who they're marrying. If they're marrying because of love, or they're marrying because they're using that person to get a work permit so they can fish in the country and make profits off the Bahamas. And at the same time, they don't love the woman or they love the man. Okay, we're going to take this call. Go ahead, good night. You're on Inside Inner City.
Hey, good afternoon, Scooty.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Yeah, man, Rachel, tuning into the show. But with the last question that you asked, right? We'll start with that.
Oh, go ahead.
Because we had so much incident with certain nationalities, right?
Yes, sir.
In our waters, right? Is why I believe our governments had to make a different decision. I mean, to make that decision simply because, it was alleged, or it is alleged, that, these persons, not all of them, but some of them was found wanting, like they was double agents. They were working in the Bahamas, but the other part of their jobs was to, inform their own boys where the jobs and where the places are in the Bahamas, right? So, but apart from that, right?
Go ahead.
If you are a fisherman and you married out of love in the Bahamas, right? Right, then I think we should give them like a waiting period, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you married today and you in the water tomorrow, right? I believe that's a bit too soon, right? I believe you're working with their program like that, right? But if you come to the Bahamas and you have to find some form of different employment now that you have the rights to work because you're married, right?
Go ahead.
And then 5 years later or so, you can apply for a Bahamian license, right? Because this is the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and every country is operated by law, and we can't, and because of our geographic location and the widespread of our waters, we can't adopt just any policies that neighboring nations might have, because they don't have the same type of problems we do, right? And they don't have the fish in their waters as we do.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Okay.
So that's how I feel about that, right? Now, before I go
ahead. You're making some good points. You made some good points. Go ahead.
Before I go, right? Because I know you was also talking about the unfortunate murders of young people, right?
Yes. Go ahead.
I think the Bahamas also need to make it almost mandatory for us to do like family planning in school.
Oh, brother.
Simply because
Oh, my
we
brother.
know the way, right? And the innocence we pretending, right? Marriage is a beautiful thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, but because of our location to America, right, we adopt everything from America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And America's structure in most cases is like to break up the black family,
You're right.
right? So we follow everything what America does. That's why we see the same type of situation occurring in the Bahamas.
Right, my brother.
Right, and
Yes.
the family structure has failed in the Bahamas, and over these last decades, we didn't have no governance to what could tap in to trying to find tangible ways of curbing this
Yes, my brother.
obvious problem we have in the country. They just keep allowing it to fester and fester.
Yes.
I grew up just like you inside. I grew up and I used to live in McCullough Corner and Peter Street and
Okay.
and
Okay. So talk, my brother. Go ahead.
right. But so I know how it was when we were when fellas like you and I were boys. We were at the ending of it was just beginning of homes really being destroyed.
Yes.
Or families really being destroyed.
You so right.
Family value started to drop.
Yes,
and
exactly.
it dropped back way from we was boys,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so imagine from then to now, right? A lot of us grow up with parents who ain't had the time to tell us nothing or to teach us nothing with sense other than to go to school and get a job,
That's right.
right? And we need to have more, especially males, right? And this is why men, when you have a son or even a daughter, it's important for you to play some role in their life because that's the balance for their development, right? Because we always just look to the woman because the woman, unfortunately, is be left with the child and the man break off running. So she has to now fend on how to develop these kids. And if she didn't get that information prior to having the kids,
Yes.
chances are she will never get that information.
To pass on to our kids.
Right. You see?
Yes.
So it's a vicious cycle. And the church, in my view, right, they are asleep on this matter, right? And the government, right, don't care who they are, they just pretend that this don't even exist, and they start blaming the actual victims, I call it the young people, they start blaming them for not having the information that nobody gave to them.
Ah, yes, my brother.
You see? And so it's a vicious cycle, man. Well, Scoochie, man. So that's why I used to run out on ignorance, right? Right? Because I was ignorant.
Yes.
I didn't know.
Yeah, we didn't know. We didn't know.
Right?
Man. We didn't know.
So see these young people, them being operating from the point of ignorance. They don't know what's happening, right? It takes people like me and you who know, right, to humble ourselves when we see them so that we can hopefully be able to plant one good seed inside them,
Yes, my brother.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, man, but Scoochie, I just listen here every Friday, bro. So just keep up the good work, man. You touching more lives than you could even imagine, right? So just keep up the good work, man. All right, so.
All right, man. Thank you, man. I mean, the guy comment like he is a professor. He explained the problems in our society. He talking about the revolving door about how the lady with didn't have the parenting guidance from her parent. So she is not going to be able to pass it on to her siblings or her children's. And then we have the cycle go on over and over and over. And he explained about the church, and he explained about the politician. And he's also explained that when we were young, this when the family structure get destroyed. And he was so right, and I'm glad he called in, because it started in the same 1970, after we was working on legalizing rum. Because people need to understand, we had a rum problem in the country before we had a cocaine problem in the country. Rum was our biggest problem. You remember Alcohol Anonymous? And remember, we used to see thousands of Bahamians around the country who were alcoholic, just drinking. Who many died, just was drinking, and vodka and Bacardi killed them. And then we went from there. That's when the drug era came in. And that's when the family structure just get depleted. It started there. Now, it's 10 times worse. And if you don't have a family structure in place, auntie or uncle, or a godmother or godfather who would take the responsibility away from the fathers and mothers, because that's how we were close-knit with the village concept. And we would have been able to change the mindset of many of the young persons if we had a village structure. But now that's gone. And like the gentleman who just called in a few minutes ago, he stated the fact that it deteriorated from our time. So from 1970 to 2021, family structure has been completely destroyed. If you look at the streets and you ride around the streets, you would see kids right now driving your car, and you ride anywhere in Mason Edition, Grandstand, Bainton, Fox Hill, and see if you see one grown-up on the road right now with kids. Kids are on the streets right now. Kids trying balling in the streets, trying rock in the streets right now to all of these communities at the same time that I'm speaking to you on this radio right now. Because I have a problem in my community on a daily basis, as much programs we have in the community. And I have to come out every day and instruct them to go home, go by the center, and stop throwing ball and rock on the road. But when I jump in my truck and I ride around Nassau or I ride in Mason Edition, you'd always see kids. I'm talking kids at the age of 7, 8, 9, 10 on the streets right now as we speak. Back in the days, we would have a family structure. A village the grown-ups would not allow those kids to be sitting on the wall. Kids sitting on the wall, playing on the road. And the thing is, what surprised me most about this whole issue is that grown-ups would not say a word to the kids. Like they're afraid of the kids, or they're just letting the kids do what they want to. So guys like us have to step up. I do this occasionally on a daily basis. If I see there's a problem that I believe I can fix by just being vocal, and I take these kids to different program. Now, they're not disrespectful to me. Okay? They're not disrespectful to me because I punish them by not carrying them on field trips. I punish them not getting them a phone, or I tell them they can't go by the center no more, or I tell them when we're going fishing, you'll not go, or when we're going to make a trip, you will not go. So this is how I punish them. This is how they simmer down and listen, Never have to put my hand on them, never have to use my voice or be abusive to them. I just say simply, we're going on a lot of trips. And you will not be going. And they know I take them on a lot of trips. All over, Lannis, etc. So, yes, a gentleman, he explained the current situation in our country. Yes. All right. We have 7:20. We have 40 more minutes in studios. If you want to comment on any particular topic, something that we said, you can call us at 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. And you can text us, powered by BTC, at 422-GR96. Yes. Just crazy. All right. I just want to talk about something else. Something crossed my mind, We're going to take a break. Okay, when we come back, if you want to comment on Loretta Butler Turner stating that, wait a minute, I just had this now. Come on a break now. Loretta Butler Turner said we need to legalize time frame before giving out new citizen. So she's saying that if we are giving out citizenship, before we give out citizenship, we should make sure that it's a time frame and before you could vote also. So you just can't get citizenship and go vote in the general election. There should be a time frame. We want to discuss that when we come back after the break on Guiding Radio 96.9 FM.
I represent the ghetto people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan, bro. Don't take no back talk, no bribe or no joke. If you find fire, you definitely find smoke. Bintan, bro. Boy, I from Bintan, bro.
When does a simple meal become exceptional? You guessed it, when it's made the fresh market way. We're talking exquisite cuts of fresh meat, succulent fresh seafood options, the best in fresh produce, and who can forget our exotic spices and herbs? Come on, get ready to shake up your taste buds and let our aisles inspire your inner food genius. Homemade salted caramel ice cream, egg noodle stir fry, time to walk and roll. Slow smoked beef ribs, oh baby! Remember, go fresh and craft delicious with Fresh Market.
The new Guardian Radio app is here. Listen live to all our Guardian Radio shows and live video stream select programs in our studio. Get information about Guardian Radio shows and our hosts. Send messages, including text, email, and even call. All from our amazing new Guardian Radio app. Download it free today in your App Store for your Apple device or Play Store for your Android device. The all-new and improved Guardian Radio app.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. It's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I represent Bahamian people. I from Nassau.
Good night and welcome back to Inside the Inner City that premieres on Guardian Radio every 6:30 to 8 p.m. live. Telephone numbers are 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. And I'd just like to say, just about everyone that I have a conversation about this show, they tell me, say, the reason they don't call in is because I talk about real life, things that are affecting them. So there's no reason for them to call in because I'm saying things that reflect on Bahamian life. I'm saying things that how we can improve the condition of the Bahamians living here in the country, ways on how we can improve poverty, decrease crime, increase empowerment, increase small business in the community, build homes. And they say I'm very, very, very smart. And as you can see, there are many programs that I've introduced to many government over the course of my career on ways on how we can reduce crime, how we can improve the country's growth when it comes to the tourist development in the country. In fact, as I speak now, I've been working for the last 15 years to find ways on how I could get the tourists to come into the Grandstand community and spend American currency in the community. And I'm working on a strategic plan, and I'm getting my financial support from a husband and wife team from Life is Key, who has been working with me for a very long time, but in the last 8 months, they have been directly assisting me on projects in the community as far as clean up the community. We are going in the development stage now, where we're looking to develop 1 or 2 places to have for tourist attraction. And all this is to build up the community so that we could have small business and jobs in our respective community, and to have what you call a revenue. Revenue means that if we have a few small business that has the potential to attract tourists, for instance, hair braiding, for instance, barbering, for instance, native food, for instance, tour guides, show the community, to the local churches, to the forts, etc., and also to the local bars in the community. And we created revenue in that particular community. You know, we're only about 100 steps away from Bay Street, so we created an industry, an industry that was once viable 40 years ago, where we had 1 million visitors coming over the hill. And that was able to provide many opportunities for families to send their kids off to school and to provide a better way of life. We are in Vanderville, like how Edmund Moxie, the late great Edmund Moxie, built Jumbe Village down there in Yellowella, where the National Insurance Board now is situated. And he created an atmosphere where he created small business for many, many Bahamians. And we in Vanderville, and we're also going to bring education. So I want to give kudos to my husband and wife team from Life is Key, who are very supportive in this. And that's how we're making change in our community. And in our community, I've got the churches involved, and we're going to get stronger. We're getting stronger. We're getting stronger. I want to play this clip. It's Loretta Butler Turner.
To consider making adjustments to legislation that would prevent newly regularized citizens from voting in an upcoming election. Our Theo Seeley shares tonight her reasoning in this report.
Former deputy leader of the Free National Movement, Loretta Butler Turner, joining the national discussion on citizenship and rights of regularized Bahamians. However, her submission is a new addition to the debate. She says government should legislate a time frame for naturalized Bahamians to become participants in the country's electoral process.
If there are many, many individuals who would have been regularized as citizens in the past year or two, I would really, like to look at what is the possibility of us putting a proviso into our immigration laws that maybe they wait out the next electoral process and then participate thereafter.
Her argument is based on the idea that governments use naturalization as an avenue to bribe the electorate.
I've been in politics, I've sat around the table, and while it may not have been said explicitly, many times when you go campaigning, you see sometimes persons leveraging the fact that, hey, I'm a citizen, so, what are you going to do for me?
But why wait until she stepped out of the political ring to address what she now sees as a glitch in the system?
This is not about colors or parties. This is really a nonpartisan discussion that I thought I would raise on my Facebook page.
While raising that discussion on Facebook garnered public feedback. One user said, at least a 3-year wait list before being able to cast a vote is reasonable in my view. While another said, Mrs. Butler Turner, it's clear you're seeking to be relevant again by pandering to the xenophobic elements in our country, but your statements have proven you should have never held any position of power. And according to Butler Turner, the legal community is split on it as well.
One lawyer flat out told me no, they don't agree. And then another lawyer says, yes, I see the understanding behind it.
Now, if government were to consider it, the notion would have to be presented to the lower chamber, then passed to the Senate for approval and enactment into legislation. Theo Seeley, Eyewitness News.
All right. Great. I hope you guys heard that. I'd like to say, what is your take on that particular comment made by former Minister Loretta Butler Turner and former, which was opposition leader in the House prior to the last general election? She made some great comments. She is saying that if you get your citizenship just recently, the government and the mama should let you wait 3 years, I guess, after you get neutralized for you to vote in the next general election. She said some very interesting fact that I can attest to, that she's telling the truth. She says that she has been around electrical and traveling the streets, and as she go around, many residents say, I'm a Bahamian, and what's in it for me? And some ask for money, some ask, like for instance, let me tell you, she is right for what she said when it comes to persons asking for incentive for their vote. This is a known fact. There's proof in the pudding. If persons get their documents and become Bahamian citizen, should they be able to vote in the general election? Here's the thing. Some people that I know, okay, let me go back when I can remember when I was a street general. I was a gangster on the street, known gangster. I was working and doing some work with a particular political party. I'm not going to say because it happened on both ends, but it happened on one particular party that was affiliated with. And during that time, we were trying to influence persons to get registered to vote. And during that time, there were many persons who were Haitian nationals who didn't have no status in the country. I could attest to this. And we were rallying the guys up to get together so that we can vote against a particular government. And many persons who were there were persons who came to the Bahamas illegally and had no status. We never discriminated against those persons in our community because they were our brothers and sisters. As far as we concerned, we grew up with them. We know their mom, we know their dad, and we grew up with them. So it wasn't like we were discriminating against them. I'm a natural born Bahamian, so there was no discrimination against me against no other nationality in the country, okay, or other race. But at that particular time, I'm a Bahamian. This is the country that God put me on, and I just went and I was born after 1973, so I'm entitled to be a Bahamian citizen. Many persons who came did not come the legal way, and many came on sloops looking for a better way of life. They managed to make it here. Our authorities failed to apprehend them and put them before the court, so they were able to live in the country for over 20 to 25 to 30 years, and that gives them right in the country if our law enforcement were not able to apprehend them in a time frame, and then in that 25-year period or 30-year period they have children, we can never send those people back home because we did not do our job as to detect with all the technology we have to find those who are living here illegally. And if they've been living here over 25, 30 years, then they should have some type of citizenship. But the point I'm trying to say is that many of them were stagnated, and this was an opportunity for many of them to get their documents. So I went to many meetings where political, political candidates and hierarchy persons were in communities, and they told us to find persons of Haitian descent who had no status in the country, but they have ways and means where they could get them to get proper paperwork in the country to become a Bahamian citizen. Many of them asked us to get their voters card. We got them sorted by bringing them, and many of them went to certain persons and got their documents. They were quite excited, and like I said, I was happy for those guys because they were our brothers and sisters. They were stagnated. They had no status in the country, but they were living here for over 20-some years, and I was happy for those guys, to get their documents. And in turn, they voted for a political party. So Ms. Butler is correct. We have to be very careful that who we give citizenship to, because many persons don't come here. They don't come here to worry about the PLP or F&M. That might come maybe get interested later on. But right now, I need to get my documents. I'm desperate. So in turn, I'm going to give you something if you give me something. And many persons who were Haitian descent voted for a particular party, because the party members, the candidates went out there, and they got their documents. This is a known fact. Many persons you see now who has their documents, if you go back to, like I say, in the early 90s, if you look at all those persons who were registered and became Bahamians, like I said, if we go from 1973 and we use the Princess Margaret Hospital records and we use the Justice of the Peace records who were given affidavits to residents who were living from 1973 and to give them some type of identity, especially the Justice of the Peace, you would see where many persons got it illegally. It was done the right way, but it was done for political gain. It was done to regain power, to dethrone one government. And in essence, that is actually, you could call that treason. Because what you're doing, you were actually getting persons who, like I say, who are not naturally born Bahamians to vote in the general election, not for the betterment of the country, but because they were done a favor. Okay? So Ms. Butler Turner is completely correct as far as she's saying that if you become a citizen, you should wait 3 years. I think we need to look at persons who become citizen, like around this time. You got to make sure that they're not getting their paperwork done because they're affiliated with certain persons who need their vote to win the next general election. Because we have seen it. We have seen where our prime minister, and I think one of our ministers was speaking at a particular church, and they discriminated, stated that they were speaking for one set of particular people in the country. And if most persons were listening, and I know that we are not stupid, many of us could see through the lines. Okay? Just like I had a gentleman call on the show and he explained the problem with the country. Like he's a professor. What he said, the young gentleman who called, who said he lived through Beryl Ground Corner, he explained the country's problem in that short phrase. And he understands what we need to do to get it right. Okay? So if you look at how our prime minister spoke at a particular event held to a Pacific church, it wasn't like he was speaking to really help the people. It was like he was speaking to get them to look his way. Okay? And then we saw a footage on Abaco when a gentleman said, they don't want us here. Okay? And he stated, we go vote PLP. And he's telling his people to vote PLP. So when you see that people, you don't be no fool. A lot of illegal persons, like I said, some who came here illegal, they deserve to be here because they have spent 20, 25, 30 years. We can't send them back. Right? But at the same time, even though we would like to see them neutralized, we have to make sure that when they're neutralized, that they're making a decision based on the fact what's going on in our country and why we need to elect new leaders. We got to say, well, this guy, even though I just became a Bahamian, Prime Minister put VAT on the Bahamian people. Or the Prime Minister locked down the country and had no stimulus plan for the citizens of the Commonwealth of the country. Okay? And then he says, have a heart. And then to the landowners or the people who owns the apartment buildings have a heart. If you're not making this kind of judgment, and then we look at the former Prime Minister, Honorable Perry Gladstone Christian, the mistakes he made. The mistake he made is when he stuck up his middle finger on national TV. Okay? This is one reason I voted against him. I voted against him and he said, you could go to this person, you could go to God, but you still got to come back to me. That's my next reason for voting. against that particular leader. And then my third reason I voted against the PLP is when we voted for what it was now, the referendum. When he said, and he stated, as the leader of the country, that if the Bahamian people said no, that he would abide by their will. Well, the people said no, and he still went the other way. So this is reason for me to not vote for a distrustful man, for a man who is disrespectful and putting himself like he is a god, which he is not, and no money and no political gain or contract could get me to side with somebody who's talking out against God, because I know one thing. You ain't carrying me to hell with you. You ain't carrying me. Right? You ain't carrying me to hell with you. Now, I'm not saying the Prime Minister carrying anyone to hell. I'm just saying in reference to my belief, and my belief in God and the universe and what's right and what's wrong. I know when someone says something that is disrespectful, not only to me and the country, but disrespectful to the citizens and disrespectful to God, and you think I'm going to jump on that ship? Not me, and many Bahamians said the same thing, because all of us know right from wrong. So if we're not our people going to vote based on the personality of the leader and find fault, and you find good in the leader, but if the bad outdo the good, then we have to vote you out. Now I'm saying we don't have to, I'm not saying we're going to vote out Menace, okay, but I'm saying naturally we're going to vote you out. And if you go around the streets in Nassau, New Providence, many persons now are saying that they feel that Menace need to go. But just recently we had Brave Davis, the leader of the opposition, who they saying is going to be the next Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Me personally, I've talked to Brave Davis a few times. I met him a few times. He seems to be a nice person, but that don't means you're going to govern right. I don't know. But the mere fact that he lost his temper in the House of Parliament, right? It's no different than Menace calling out a public servant and holding up a file and said he released a file, on him. That's abuse of power. A Prime Minister shouldn't be that petty. That's the lowest for the lowest, especially for a citizen. And I want to say this. When I saw that, right, my mind going far. My mind going so far, My mind going way to when David was the king, and then he had this soldier in the army, and the soldier loved him, and this soldier would do anything for King David. And David, I guess, was in his palace, and he get 700 wives, 700 concubines, all kind of girlfriends, and etc. And he was on his balcony, and he looked from his balcony, and then he looked down his balcony, and then he saw this beautiful woman. But why could he call this woman beautiful when he has 700 wives, 700 concubines, and all kind of girlfriends? Don't you think all of those women are beautiful? Why is this one woman so beautiful? Okay? That's being greedy. Every woman you see, you want. That's what it is. Okay? And here's the story. Now, this soldier loved him. And he had a wife. The soldier had a wife. So he was off serving the king. See, to serve the king was the greatest gift. To serve the king. Just like how this defense force officer was serving the Prime Minister. Same thing. So now, King David sees this beautiful woman, and he asks one of his soldiers, "Soldier, come here. Who's that woman across the road?" Now, the lady was on the balcony. She must be very beautiful. She must be a solid brown skin or dark skin and beautiful. Must he was dancing or drying off, and he looking down from his high palace when he have, like I said, he have 700 wives, 700 whatever, girlfriends, etc., and many more. He sees this woman. He wants her. He asks the soldier, "Who is that?" And the soldier in turn said, that is one of your constables, and he loves you, king, and he's a great fighter. Without him, we wouldn't win so much battles, because don't think David win all those battles. People get the wrong concept, You think David win all those battles. He couldn't win all those by himself. Each individual who was a part of his army, God gave him a piece. If he didn't have one of those pieces, he never would have been the King David. That's the same thing with Michael Jordan, right? They talk about how great Jordan is. Do you think Jordan grabbed all the rebound? He got all the steals. He passed all the balls. If you take Michael Jordan, you put him on the court with 5 other players, he probably wouldn't even score 4 points. You know why? Because basketball is not a one-man game. Basketball is a team game. Okay? You could say Jordan had one of the greatest teams in the history of the NBA. So you got to be careful. He couldn't win if he didn't have Dennis Rodman, if he didn't have Ron Harper, hey? If he didn't have Tony Kukoc, if he didn't have Scottie Pippen, if he didn't have John Paxson who hit those shots. And many times, I just giving you some example, and many times people say, Jordan hit all the clutch shot. But me watching basketball, I watch Paxson hit clutch shot, I watch Steve Kerr hit clutch shots, and etc. The same thing with the Lakers. Ain't no one in Lakers history had more clutch shot than Derek Fisher. Not Kobe Bryant, not Shaq. And the closest person could probably be Robert Horry, right? But Derek Fisher hit more clutch shot in Lakers history than Kobe Bryant, Shaq, and probably any other player. But you all hear about how great Kobe is. Take Kobe, put him on the court by himself against 5 next players, or the Boston Celtics with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and etc. And you line him up, and let's see how great he is. He'd probably score 4 points. And those guys probably score 300 points. Okay. So now let me get back to the story. So one at a time. So now, King David sees this woman. He asks. His soldier tells him, that is blah, blah, blah. That's a good soldier. He loves you. He'll do anything for you. David inquired on her. David met her. She told him she's married. Him as king, who's supposed to be a setting example. And this is why black man right now, today, is in the position we in today, because of the decision of King David and the decision of kings. Because God told him, be respectful. God told him not to have outside children outside of his tribe. But what he decided to do, he decided to go and, like other people would have other beliefs, serving idols. And this bring destruction, because many of those children he had, like Absalom, who was the most beautiful person in the world, man or woman, was his son. And he took half of Israel with him. Okay? So these mistakes that King David made are the mistakes why we got in bondage. Because he sent a moral to the army. Could you imagine you being the king and this soldier loves you? You're going to say, nah, I love this woman. The soldier is loyal to me. You put all the fact that this soldier fights for you. He'll do anything for you. You put all of it aside. Now you come up with a scheme. Put him in the front line to make sure he does not come back home. And that's what King David did. So in other essence, when he did that, he didn't know he brought Israel to his knees, because he brought the moral of the army. They were strong together. They were brothers. But now when the soldiers find out what he did to that particular soldier, they didn't respect the king no more. That's why the people started to rebel. That's why many people started to choose Absalom. You understand? You understand what I'm saying, you Yemen people? We always say, why are we in this position today? We're in this position today because people who have authority in this country, they use their authority for the pettiest reason. You're supposed to uplift your citizens. You're supposed to be looking for poison in this country like a Jonah Jones, who is doing so excellent for us as a country. Jazz Chisholm, who was playing world-class baseball. DeAndre Ayton, who, man, playing like a man possessed. When they see him, he looks like a Tim Duncan or Kevin Garnett. Shanae Miller, the students who win the spelling bee competition in the Bahamas, the disabled person who does basket, The Prime Minister's supposed to be having a platform where he acknowledging persons who are doing these great, great deeds. He is not one to try pull down nobody. Use his power for petty gain. And these are the things why I'm going to vote against the Prime Minister. I'm not telling no one to vote for nobody. I say I judge people by their character. I judge people by their actions and what they say. And if they don't do it, you don't know respect from me. Because when I was on the streets, and when I was one of the top gangsters, and when we call peace, and when we say, man, look here, we need to call peace. So when we get together with our arch rivals, we get together with Franz Pascal. He tried to kill me where he emptied a 9mm at me on East Street. Shot at me 14 times with a 9mm. And my friend Chicken got shot. And then Kelsey A.K. Lundy, he was the leader at that time of the Rebellion Raiders. And when we see we couldn't win, what I mean we win, we were harming one another today. We'd harm them today, they'd come and harm us tomorrow. We shoot one of them tomorrow, and the next day they come and shoot somebody from around else. So we reach a stalemate. So when we come to agreement to say, hey, this is enough, when we get together, we find a neutral spot, and when we go and we say, hey, we know this one don't like this one in the group. What can we do to make sure that if we call peace, that when I come down the East Street or I travel anywhere, I'm unarmed, what is going to guarantee me that this guy who I have a problem with would not attack me? And we would look at one another, and he would bring that person, I would bring that person, and we shake on it. Even though they don't like one another, even though they just had a shootout with one another or stabbing, instead where they stab one another or chop them with cutlass, we would bring them together and we say, brother, we call a truce, and our word is our bond. And your word is the only thing a man has. It's man honor. And today, many of our leaders don't have no honor or no principle. And for that, hey, that is my conviction, not to support you. I might support Travis Robertson. I just saying, because, but like I say, many persons are disgruntled at the Prime Minister. I'm not saying they're going to lose the general election. I'm not going to say the PLP is going to win the general election. I'm just giving you facts. And like I explained King David and why we as black people now are in this position we're in now, because our former leaders, who are our ancestors, defied God. And because of that, we got put in captivity. And now we are regaining ourselves. I just want to say this to you people out there. I am one of the most nicest persons you could ever be around. I'm speaking from my heart right now. I'm the nicest person you could be around. And when people say the guys who shooting a gun or persons are bad, I feel sorry for everyone, because you might know what a young man doing. But what these people do in these coat suits, far suppress what those young man doing out there. Far suppress it. And me being around and saying that these people are honorable, I expect I come from the streets, right? And meeting these people. And then we really get to really, really go in a private setting. The foulest words coming out of these people, words that I wouldn't say because I'm so respectful to them and thinking that they're so what you call, honorable. And when you get in places with them, the things what they want to do to a person who said something about them and their leaders. The extent where they go as to say, you know, don't give him no contract. I don't want to see him. And you're a leader of the country. A leader can't be petty-minded. A leader can't be like how King David was. He was a great king, but he got beside himself. And when you get beside yourself and forget what your calling is, you're going to get a rude awakening. And things like what the Prime Minister is doing on Brave Davis, let me say it again, things that the Prime Minister just recently did when he said he would expose a former Defense Force officer in Parliament. That is the lowest of the low because the guy still is a being. It's like how those pastors the other day tried to stop Sabas from being ambassador, non-resident ambassador, and they spoke on it. Okay? But to remind you, in the Vatican City, that most of you doctorate from and get your degree, your pastoral degree from theology degree. The Roman Catholic Church has just said now that they'll be allowing the law for authorities now to persecute pastors who sexually abuse boy, child, whilst they are in the midst. In the midst means that you're a Catholic preacher, you could be an archbishop or whatever, but you hold a position, you have a church. In your church, there's sexual abuse going on, and you're using your position. And then the system was protecting thousands, hundreds, let me just say, hundreds of persons who hold prestige position in the Roman Catholic Church who have committed heinous crimes against kids. You know, sexual abuse, and they've made many settlements in the millions, hundreds of millions. And now, the Pope just mentioned it, that they would now be prosecuting pastors who harm because the law protected them. You know, so when you try to downgrade the next behemoth, like they say, because this is wrong in your eyes, you know, because you're a pastor, you feel that gambling is wrong, etc. But Sabas ain't doing nobody no wrong. Who is you as a pastor to get together and to talk about the man, right? When the governments of the country allowed the man to operate in the country. Many of you might have fight against it, right? But at the same time, many pastors go to Sabas and he donates thousands of dollars to many charity events in the country. You can't blame Sabas. You got to blame the authority. And then you got to blame the former prime minister. And then you got to blame this prime minister, I think, for giving her the license. I think it's Perry give her the license. And then this one reinstate the license. Okay? So you can't go at Sabas. When many of you have skeletons in your closet, you know, many of you could be sexual abusers too. Many of you could be sweethearting on your wife. Many of you could be taking up the church collection and giving it to your sweetheart. Okay? But we would know that because many things are done in secret. So because we see Sabas as a person who climbed his way up, you know, the guy, he was blessed from God, you know. That's what people don't understand, you know. For you to start off from nothing and then become a multi-millionaire and giving back, that's a blessing from God. He had God's grace on the side. And many persons supposed to know that. Even pastors supposed to know that's a blessing. You see? So what I'm saying is many people have their skeleton and they quickly jump on other people and try to give people a bad name. That is wrong. That's what's so wrong in the country. It's not up to you as pastors to say, you know, about the next behemoth, unless It's a person who committed a heinous crimes in the country. You could speak on them on. And then certain other things like what y'all spoke up against, like when y'all did the referendum with the gaming, which many of you voted no to. But the Prime Minister at the time was Perry Gladstone Christie, and he gone against his word. So you guys stood up for something that was right. So you can't blame Sabas because now he get appointed as non-ambassador to the country. These are the things that I'm talking about that are petty. You know, what we need to focus on, we need to focus on all those kids. This woman jailed 28 years for killing somebody for a phone. Or the kids who stabbed the next student in the school and injured the next one. These are the things we need to focus on. We need to focus on the broken homes where we could get the pastors to go to these homes instead of in church service on Sunday. Make it your business to survey area, find out the less fortunate in the community, find out the at-risk kids, find out the at-risk guys who come into the prison, and go and see them and talk to them and bring them some type of relief and show them what Jesus really is. This is what Jesus is. Jesus come to your door and Jesus come to talk to you. Jesus come to tell you to turn away from your wicked ways. And I'm here to help assist you. And I'm going to be your brother's keeper. You know, because many of these guys who come into prison, who committed these heinous crimes, they live right around churches. But the churches does nothing to go and reach these guys. You know, I did an experiment with Pastor Heater Road, and I showed him the guys who were in the community who were criminally minded and who were leading the gang. He had a conversation with them, and it worked to extend and it's still working today, that relationship he established. And he still is assisting many of those young men in the community. And that's why you see decline in crime in our community. And we have to keep on working at it. You understand? So, just remember, I talked about King David. I talked about why we as blacks are in the position we're in today and the decision of kings who had the power to do good. They defied God. They defied their subjects, cause harm on the subjects, to cause a moral spread where they don't respect the king no more. So if the king can do that to a good soldier like that who was dedicated to him, then what he's going to do to me? So people stop respecting the king, and that's why Israel fall. And that's why we have a false Israel today in the West Bank. All right? So I hope you enjoyed the show today on Guardian Radio 96.9. I'm Valentino Brown, host of the talk show Inside the Inner City. Many people call me Scoochie or Scrooge. And like I said, many people say that they don't call in because I is talk the stuff that they understand and what needs to be said. And I am on no one side. I'm not on the PLP side. I'm not on the FNM side. I'm on the side of what's right. And what's right in this country right now isn't going so well for us as a society. So I hope that the powers to be take into consideration that we have a real problem in this country. And we must, with all our powers, try to create family structure again in this country. We need to find ways on how we can get husband and wife together, girlfriend and boyfriend together, back together. You could be a girl, you could be my girlfriend, you could be my boyfriend, but we're working together. We don't even need to get married. We are committed to one another because we have a child. We set our differences aside and we put everything towards developing our child so that they can be productive citizens. Okay? And we continue to grow. And then we build villages where persons can see a child on the road and say, hey, you're doing something wrong. Go home to your mom. You know, we don't want you throwing ball in the road, etc. like that. Or cursing in the road when they're walking past or trying to smoke marijuana. We need for persons, again, to regain our identity, where we are brothers keeper again, where persons in the community are no longer afraid of the kids in our community and become a village again. I don't care what we do, if we don't develop a village atmosphere and we develop the prison, we develop the community, and we develop the prison where we have programs in the prison And then we have a re-entry program that once that prisoner leaves that prison and he goes back in his community, he knows the pastor in the community, and the pastor knows him, and the pastor can keep track. And he has the resources to help that guy from creating heinous crime in the community. And that's how we're going to have the way together. And we're going to do major investment in this community and country. So we're completely out of time. So I want to say thanks to everyone who took the time to listen to Inside the City on Guardian Radio. I want to say thanks to my producer, Ali Roll. Remember, Guardian Radio gave me this show to talk about our history, share our stories, talk about our hopes and dreams, and positive is to make an impact in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. See you next week on Inside in the City.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I represent Bahamian people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up